are sitting right now. Almost everyone watching this is. It feels normal, comfortable, forgettable. But the way modern humans sit would have looked strange, unnecessary, and even unhealthy to most people who lived before the last few centuries. The human body did not evolve with chairs. It adapted to them slowly, without choice, and without understanding the long-term consequences. This is not just the history of an object, it is the history of how something ordinary reshaped how humans live, work, rest, and move. For most of human existence, chairs barely existed. Early humans did not sit the way we do. They squatted, knelt, leaned, or sat directly on the ground. Rest was not a static position. It was temporary stillness between movement. Even when sitting, the body stayed active. Muscles engaged to maintain balance. Joints moved freely. The spine constantly adjusted. Anthropologists studying traditional societies in parts of Africa, Asia, and Oceania noticed something striking. People who spent their lives sitting on the ground often retained full hip and ankle mobility into old age. They did not need stretching routines or posture correction. Their daily posture already demanded constant movement. For tens of thousands of years, this was normal human behavior. The chair was not. When chairs first appeared, they were not designed for comfort. They were designed for power. The earliest known chairs come from ancient Egypt, around 2600 BCE. They were rare, heavy, and richly decorated. Ordinary people did not own them. Pharaohs and high officials sat elevated, often with footstools, while servants and subjects stood or sat on the ground. Sitting was not a habit. It was a privilege. This pattern repeated across civilizations. In ancient Rome, magistrates sat on special chairs called curule chairs, symbols of legal authority. In imperial China, elevated seating was reserved for elders, officials, and scholars. In medieval Europe, chairs were often restricted to the head of the household. Everyone else used benches or stools. The chair separated bodies without walls. It visually answered one question: who mattered? This is why the word chair still signals authority today. A committee chair, a department chair, a chairperson. The object and the power became inseparable. For most people, chairs were something to look at, not something to use, and many people did not trust them. As chairs slowly spread beyond elites, they were often criticized. Medieval medical texts warned that prolonged sitting could interfere with digestion and blood flow. Some physicians believed that sitting too long caused lethargy and weakened the body. In many Asian cultures, sitting on the floor remained dominant for centuries. Tatami mat culture in Japan, for example, emphasized ground sitting as healthier and more disciplined. Sitting high was seen as indulgent, even disrespectful in certain settings. Early chairs did little to win people over. They were rigid, upright, and uncomfortable by modern standards. No cushions, no armrests, no concern for ergonomics. The body was expected to conform. Sitting was not about rest. It was about control. A seated body moves less. A still body is easier to manage. This became increasingly important as societies grew more organized. The real transformation did not happen in palaces. It happened in schools. As mass education expanded in the 18th and 19th centuries, children were expected to sit still for hours. Movement, once natural to learning, became disruption. Stillness became discipline. The desk and chair standardized how bodies should behave. A child who could sit quietly was considered obedient. A child who could not was considered a problem. This logic carried directly into offices. During the Industrial Revolution, work shifted from physical movement to stationary labor. Clerks, accountants, and administrators worked seated for entire days. Productivity became associated with stillness. Focus meant remaining in place. The chair became central to efficiency. Mass production completed the transformation. By the late 19th century, chairs were cheap, standardized, and everywhere. Homes filled with them. Trains, offices, cafes, and waiting rooms were designed around them. Public life assumed sitting. Standing became unusual. Squatting became inappropriate. Floor sitting became uncivilized. The body adapted because it had no alternative, but adaptation came slowly. Across generations, muscles weakened from disuse. Hip mobility declined. Posture changed. Movement became something scheduled instead of continuous. The body began to rely on external support instead of internal strength. This was not the result of a single decision. It was the accumulation of millions of small habits repeated daily. Sitting to eat, sitting to work, sitting to rest after sitting all day. The chair became invisible. Today, most people do not question it. Discomfort appears not because sitting is unnatural, but because standing feels unfamiliar. The body has adapted to furniture instead of terrain. The chair did not force this change, it invited it. It entered human life quietly, stayed permanently, and reshaped what humans consider normal. That may be the most powerful thing an ordinary object has ever done.